Hi guys, and welcome to another exciting tutorial on Iclone7. Today we are going to turn this scene into something like this. Yes guys, we are going to create some light rays. It's also known as volumetric light. So first of all, we need to create a geometry for our light, and for that I'm using a capsule that is provided by Iclone itself. And also I'm using a container, cylindrical container, and adjusting its size so that it looks something like a spotlight. So I am going to rename this can cylindrical geometry into rig spotlight, and also I'm going to rename this capsule lens, and I am going to attach this lens to our rig. Now let's create a cone. So first of all, we are going to change the scale of this cone so that it resembles light rays coming out of a spotlight. Also, I'm going to parent this cone to rig spotlight. Let's adjust the scale of this cone so that it resembles light rays coming out of a spotlight. So I am going to scale the diameter and also adjust it so that it matches the size of our spotlight. Okay, so finally let's create our light source, and we are going to use a spotlight for this one. So I'm gonna zero out so that it aligns with rest of our geometry. Also, we need to parent our spotlight to our rig again. So here something was wrong with my screen recorder, so I missed the part where I adjusted the cone angle of the light to match the cone. So now if we move our rig, everything including light, our lens and our rays will move accordingly. And this is what we have come up with till now. And now let's turn off the auxiliary light. Although the spotlight is on, we still cannot see our light. But before adjusting the spotlight, I am going to add a glow in our lens texture. So there is a glow texture inside Iclone provides. So I'm just adding that. So I just added this glow texture, and now you can see the capsule or the lens is now glowing. Let me just turn on the IVL so you can see it better. Also, one thing I'd like to do is I'd like to turn on the self-illumination so that we do not get any shadows out of it. Let's turn on the global illumination so that it actually transmits some light. Now, as you can see, we cannot see the light coming out of the spotlight. That is because I think the intensity is too low, and also let's increase our range. Now you can see a little bit of light there. The light color is gray, so let's brighten it up. Still we cannot see, and one thing we can do actually is, even though the range here is maxed out to 20, we can type in our range up to 100. So I'm gonna go for 100, and let's adjust the angles to our liking. So I think now this is looking like a spotlight. Now as we know, we have turned down the opacity of our rays or cone. Now I'm going to raise the opacity. Now you can see the light bouncing off our cone, and that looks almost like a light ray. So I'm moving a light here, but I'm moving this, but we need to make sure that we move this in local axis so that it will not disorient with our rig. Also, I want to increase the radius of the cone to match the radius of our light. So I'm going to scale this along X and Y axis equally. So what I can do is I can just scale one axis, then copy the parameters and paste it in another axis. It is still not matching. I think the reason is the cone is short. So let's also increase the Z axis. Just scale this Z axis and then X and Y axis. Now to get the light rays look, first of all, I don't want any shadows to be created with this cone, so I'm gonna turn the shadows threshold all the way up. And also I am going to move the spotlight a bit further. So now you can see it has brightened. I'm just making sure that the spotlight is not blocked by our cone. So now we can just decrease the intensity. Now for the texture part, first of all, let's select our rays and press this button, and we will switch to Photoshop, and here we are going to create a texture or opacity map for our rays. So let's create a new layer, and let's pick our brush, and for that I want to find out the center. So this is our center, and I am going to paint some random spots around the center. I think this will do. So now I am going to go to filter, blur, and radial blur. So we are going to crank up the amount and also make sure that the blur method is set to zoom. The effect is too little, so I am going to repeat this, or just press Alt, Control and F. Just press Alt, Control and F for several times until you get the desired look. So I'm settling for this. And let's move this so that this centers with the UV map. Now I'm just going to delete whatever that is outside of the circle here. I'm just using eraser tool and just rubbing it out randomly. So now we need to hide the bottom layer, but we also want a black background, so I'm creating a new layer, and let's fill this with black color. I think the effect is too harsh, so I'm also going to blur this a bit. Now let's save this image for our opacity map of our rays in Iclone. I'm just going to save this in JPEG format. You can save whatever format you want. I think JPEG takes very little space, so I like this. So I'm going to call this rays opacity 1. Let's load up the opacity map we just created by double clicking on this, and let's go to our folder and load this opacity map. So I think you cannot see this. Let's crank up the opacity here so you get something like this. Now we are almost getting there. Now what we need to do is we also need some glow in this material. So I'm just going to copy the opacity map and paste it inside glow. So this is too bright, so first of all let me change the color of our glow, give it some color to make it more interesting. And let's play with opacity map to get this very subtle effect and natural looking light rays, and also make sure that your global illumination is turned on. Now let's turn off the IBO, and this looks something like this. Our spotlight does not match the color of our rays, so let's try to match this. So let's place our light for our final scene. And I feel that the rays are too harsh, so I am going to edit this one more time. I'm just going to blur this out a bit, something like this, and save this. Now also I am going to copy the opacity to glow. Now I think it looks much better to my liking, and this is what we have come up with. So we can see the spotlight. Let's just turn the visibility of our spotlight. And one problem you might face is that when we move the light, you might get this outer circle which does not look natural. So to solve that, all you have to do is just tweak the angle of our spotlight, so that way we can get rid of that. Let's make sure that we select the rig spotlight before we move anything. Now we can make this look even more interesting by adding some IES, and here I want to choose 3 lobes. And let's turn this angle and fall off and attenuation to the max, so we get this effect of, you know, light reflecting out of a lens. Let's just scale our rays to match the size of the lights. So as you can see, here are some weird texture going on the cone. So for that, what I forgot was to turn on the self-illumination. And now you can see the cone looks much more smoother. Now let's play with the glow one more time. Now we can actually create even more interesting look to our light by playing with our glow and diffuse color. So here I'm making this glow blue, whereas let's first turn off the base color, and now let's choose our diffuse color to something else. So this is green, so there is a bit of green, so I'm going to show you this. Oops, let's just select the rig and move the whole thing, and let's first change the color of the light to something like this, and I am going to and let's rotate this. Now here you can see some green and as well as some blue. So I think that's really cool. So in real life, actually we cannot see the light with our naked eyes. The light rays are the light reflected out of tiny particles that is present in the air. So basically we can see light rays when there are smoke or some fog. So here I'm just adding some fog and also sky and adjusting the parameters of fog so that the horizon disappears, and finally some HDR effect so that we get that glow. As you can see here on the pillars and also on the light source itself, so this looks much more natural. So you can just duplicate our lights like this and change the glow settings. So when copying a light, just remember that the textures are linked. So as you can see, if you make any adjustment, that will also apply to our in-test geometry. So to unlink that, just click here and unlink all textures. So I'm just trying to create a different colored light. For that, I'm changing the color of the spotlight, also the rays. Make sure that you unlink all the texture. So with some adjustment and some copies, I've created some other varieties of the light. So in this one, it looks like a laser beams are coming out of it. So all I did was I made this texture for opacity map. And this is it, guys. That's the end of this tutorial. Do not forget to support me by liking, sharing, or commenting, and also subscribing to my channel. And also I'm giving away these two lights for absolutely free, so you can go check out the link in the description.